Aquaman 2 plot leak, major plot details revealed in the movie. See what War Series to say about this and check this out.
And in today's video, we're going to talk about Aquaman 2, The Lost Kingdom. That will see everyone in this movie look for the Lost Kingdom, or do they find the Lost Kingdom, or has it even got anything to do with Lost Kingdom? Well, we're going to tell you in this video. So, if you're new around here, subscribe to never miss any Marvel, DC, pop culture-based content that we try to cover on a daily basis. Let me know down below, do you have any interest in Aquaman 2? Now that pretty much no movie means anything in the DC universe except for The Flash, maybe? Let us know down below. Do you want to watch Aquaman 2 because the first movie turned over, in terms of box office, 1.1 billion? That's probably why Zassoff hasn't shelved this. I mean, this movie makes the most sense shelving this over Batgirl. I mean, this movie does make the most sense to shelve it, but we get it because the first one banged a billion, it got a second one. That's like Joaquin Phoenix Joker got a movie because it banged a billion. Had it not banged a billion, it probably wouldn't have got a sequel. So, if you could check us out on Instagram and watch you to see the beautiful face behind the beautiful face. And also, if you could, check us out on Twitter, or WashGG. Right, let's get into this video. So we're going to talk about plot points that I don't think are on the internet. We're not actually going to go to full depth, but I will tell you enough about the movie. But what I do find interesting is the way that these Twitter influencers talk. When they talk about information they're getting from test screeners, they're not actually going to the test screener themselves. So they're not the source, they're not the scooper, they're the middle person. They're talking to someone that went to a screener and they're acting like they're the source. They're acting like they're the scooper. No, you're just saying what you heard from someone that went to a test screener. Just to clarify, because it seems one of my Reddit replies kicked off all this discussion and had other people chiming in. I did not personally say it was the worst DCU movie ever. Viewer and on, I don't even believe, based on what you've said, that you've seen it, because you were like, I'm hearing, I was told. So, yeah, I get it. You can evaluate how good a movie's going to be based on plot points, but if you haven't seen the movie, how would you know if it's going to be the worst DCEU movie ever? So, there's been multiple articles, multiple people talking about Aquaman 2 being the worst movie ever, based off scoopers that haven't even watched it. Where's James Gunn at? Why isn't James Gunn debunking this? Come on, James lad, debunk it. It's been a few days now, it must be real. So Aquaman 2 reported to have the worst DCU movie ever, according to rumours. And this is why Jason Momoa is going to be Lobo, and there's going to be a new Aquaman and new Mira going forward after Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. It is very interesting. So there's so many hot takes. Well, half a dozen of test screeners in, and it's not looking great. I've consistently heard over the last half a year or so that it's boring, not as good as the first, and potentially one of the worst DCU movies ever. You know, sequels live up to the reputation of the predecessor. Do any sequels live up to the first movie? No. That's why she's having to, it's not tracking very good, is it? It's not going to be a good year if you're a DC fan in terms of box office. So, what actually happens in this movie? And yes, Amber Heard Mira is still in the movie. Why would a company, Warner Bros. Discovery, in like $46 billion worth of debt, recast Mira, spend more money? They've already done multiple reshots, multiple retooling. I hate to say it. She is actually a very important character to this movie. Very pinnacle to the movie. Why? Because of, I don't need to give spoilers because we've already said spoilers. Because Mira gives birth in this movie to Arthur Curry's son, Aqualad. And he's very important to the overall story of the whole movie. Now, she's not just going to be in the scene at the start of the movie where she's in Atlantean hospital and she gives birth, and that's it. But we know, according to the trial, there was supposed to be some fight scenes with Mira, but they were cut. But I haven't got specifics, like I don't know word for word the whole movie rundown, but she's not just going to be in the opening scene where she's giving birth, because that's not going to be a 20-minute scene. So this movie, I don't understand why it's getting, I mean, I do understand why it's getting hate, 'cause it does sound pretty lame. So, Aquaman is now king, and in this movie, it's going to be a buddy cop movie where Arthur Arthur Curry has to team up with his brother, who he kind of defeated in the first movie, Orm, to take down Black Manta and a group of villains. Very interesting movie, and that's essentially the plot. There really isn't much to this movie. But yeah, sure, we do have some other prior information. So Black Manta is possessed with what was described to me as possessed by an old king via a trident, and they needed royal blood to resurrect his old kingdom. Very interesting. But I've also heard Black Manta kidnaps Aqualad because he needs his blood to find the lost kingdom. So the same villains are in this story as always been in this story. Slightly different change. And it's also worth saying, I don't know why I have to say this, test screening, the movie isn't finished, the VFX isn't finished, it's a rough cut before they decide if they actually want to go ahead with it. Hence why The Flash has had multiple test screenings, Shazam's had multiple test screening, every movie Warner Brothers does gets multiple test screening. So I did some digging, and this walking outline, I don't know where it came from. No one actually walked out of the movie. I really don't understand why that came out. I think it was just, we wannabe Twitter scoopers saying it to get clout or something. But I don't understand why you would use Twitter to get clout, because it's Twitter. So that, in a nutshell, is most of the story, to be honest. And I've heard this from multiple people about Black Manta being possessed by an old king via the trident, and they need royal blood to resurrect his old kingdom. Hence why they kidnap Arthur Curry's son, Aqualad, so they can use his royal blood to resurrect the old kingdom. Now, I've not watched this movie, so I'm not going to be like one of these scoopers that make how I know absolutely everything about the movie, because I've not watched the movie. But I've been sent a bunch of information from a bunch of different people that have watched a bunch of different screeners. And yeah, I guess if you were to look at the previous screeners and look at the most recent screener, yeah, they've changed some things, but I wouldn't say major. They've majorly changed the movie. I think that's a little bit misleading, because Black Manta was always going to take Aqualad for the royal blood. That has not changed, and Mira cannot be taken out of this movie because, like I say, she is the most important character in a roundabout way, because she has to give birth to Aqualad, because the royal blood is somewhat pretty important to the overall movie. Of course, in this movie, Black Manta will be a lot more powerful than he was in the previous movie. Why is he getting so much hate? Well, I'm not going to go into specific details, but the script, the wording, it's not written very well. It's basically a buddy cop movie where he teams up with his brother, goes against Black Manta. Again, I mean, I get it, Black Manta wasn't the villain in the first movie, but he was always around. I think they've kind of wasted Black Manta in the DCU universe, to be honest. So much potential with Black Manta. Where's the Legion of Freaking Doom? That needs to happen. So, is Aquaman 2 going to be the worst DCU movie ever? No, that is always going to be the Justice League, because that was like literally that opening with what they did to Henry Cavill's face. So, a lot of people getting like clickbait titles going, the worst DC movie yet. Based on what? The problem with the internet is, and the problem with these Twitter scoopers is, they hear information, right? Cool, you've had it, cool. But you still need to see the execution. Because, like I keep saying, the Flash movie, to me, I've got the whole plot. It doesn't seem like it's going to be groundbreaking and smash $1 billion and be the greatest comic movie ever. But then you have people like James Gunn going, yeah, one of the best comic movies ever. David Zaslav loves this movie. Well, you just threw a huge Super Bowl trailer out there. You put a lot of money into marketing. But it's like I keep saying, the Flash movie, if you take away Keaton and if you take away Ben Affleck, there is literally no appeal to it, because what? You got Sasha Kelly Supergirl doing a literal copy variation of Man of Steel in an esque roundabout way. Maybe not more savage, because Sasha Kelly doesn't snap Zod's neck. So I do find it funny, the whole how the scooper game works, because like, yeah, we know so much about a movie that you've not seen. I'm privy to pretty much Shazam 2 leak, Flash leak. Even I've got a good amount of details about the Blue Beetle movie, which, like I said, I'm not a leaker. I haven't actually put anything out in this video that's not already out on the internet. I made sure it was already out on the internet because I'm not a leaker. But that is the premise of the whole movie, and I can see how it can be boring. But it depends on the execution of Orm, the execution of Aquaman, the execution of Black Manta, the execution of Mira, because yeah, I know people like that dislike the actor in real life, but she is important to this movie going forward. Will it bang $1 billion? I think this movie sounds pretty weak. It's pretty mediocre, but I can't say it's going to be the worst movie ever without watching it. I'm not one of these clout-chasing Twitter scoopers that will say, yeah, it's the worst movie ever, but I've not actually watched it, so you don't know anything. Having a plot in front, I mean, I've literally got the whole plot in front of me, or at least a variation of the plot, and like I said, I'm not a leaker. I could have gone over everything, like, in way, way more detail, but until someone else puts it out there, I'm not going to go over it properly, so hopefully someone else goes over it, so we can go over it properly, and I can go over everything I know, but they're little bits that are here and there that are on the internet, and they made sure they were, because, as I keep saying, I'm not a leaker. And I won't leak the plot. But these plot details are already out there. So that's why people think it's boring and hate it. And I think it's been a bit dramatised, to be honest, because it doesn't sound any worse than any other DC movie, if I'm honest. So like always, guys, check us out on Instagram at WarStew, check us out on Twitter at WarStewJ. And I'll catch you in another video very soon. Catch you later.
Subscribe, like this video. Have a great day, and see you guys. Bye.